The fluorescent lights of the Quick Mart cast harsh shadows across the empty parking lot as Zara pulled her Honda Civic next to Pump 3. The digital clock on her dashboard read 2:47 a.m., another 16-hour shift at Mercy General behind her. Her scrubs were wrinkled, her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun, and exhaustion weighed heavy on her shoulders. Like an old familiar coat. She'd been a combat medic in Afghanistan for 3 tours, before trading her military uniform for hospital scrubs. The transition hadn't been easy. Civilian life moved at a different pace, with different rules. But the night shifts reminded her of the hypervigilance that had kept her alive overseas. Old habits died hard. The gas station attendant behind the bulletproof glass looked up from his textbook as she approached. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with kind eyes and calloused hands that spoke of honest work. A small Lebanese flag sticker adorned his name tag, which read, Kareem, long night. He asked in accented English, his voice warm despite the late hour. The longest, Zara replied, grabbing a large coffee and adding cream. You, studying for finals? Mechanical engineering. He gestured to the thick textbook. Coffee helps. As Zara reached for her wallet, the glass door chimed. 3 men entered, their intentions clear from the way they moved, predatory, coordinated. She'd seen that walk before, in Kandahar alleys and Baghdad markets. The one in front, tall with a neck tattoo, scanned the empty store while his companions flanked the exits. Empty the register, kid, neck tattoo demanded, producing a knife. And you, lady, purse and keys. Now. Zara's training kicked in instantly. Years of muscle memory overwrote exhaustion. She assessed threats, calculated angles, identified weapons. The knife was the primary concern, but amateur grip suggested limited training. The other 2 carried themselves like street fighters, dangerous but predictable. Look, I don't want any trouble, she said, raising her hands while subtly shifting her weight to her back foot. Just take what you want, smart girl, the leader smirked, stepping closer. Phone 2. That was his mistake, closing distance. Zara's right hand shot forward, striking his wrist and sending the knife clattering across linoleum. Her left elbow found his solar plexus as she spun, using his momentum to throw him into a display of energy drinks. The second attacker rushed her. She sidestepped, grabbed his extended arm, and used a simple jujitsu throw to send him crashing into the Slurpee machine. The third hesitated, seeing his partners down, then charged anyway. Bad decision. Zara caught his punch, twisted his arm behind his back, and drove him face first into the counter. The entire confrontation lasted maybe 30 seconds, behind the bulletproof glass. Kareem stared in amazement, phone pressed to his ear, already talking to emergency dispatch. When sirens wailed in the distance, Zara finally allowed herself to breathe. Are you all right? Kareem asked through the speaker, his textbook forgotten. Zara looked at her hands, noting a small cut from broken glass. Just another night, she said. But her voice carried the weight of 1,000 other nights, in places far more dangerous than this quiet gas station. The police finished their paperwork by 4:30 a.m., taking statements and arresting the 3 would-be robbers. Zara sat on the curb outside the Quick Mart, watching the last squad car disappear into the pre-dawn darkness. Her adrenaline had faded, leaving behind the familiar hollow feeling she knew too well. Kareem's voice was soft as he approached, carrying 2 steaming cups. Thought you might need this. She accepted the coffee gratefully. Shouldn't you be getting ready to leave? Your shift must be ending soon. Not for another hour, he said, settling beside her on the concrete. Besides, after what just happened, I don't think either of us is going anywhere soon. Idar studied his profile in the dim light. He had laugh lines around his eyes despite his youth, and his hands were steady as he held his cup. You called the police pretty quick. Good thinking. My father always said when you see injustice, you don't just stand by. Kareem's voice carried a slight tremor. Though I've never seen anything like what you just did. Military training, she said simply, stays with you. Which branch? Army. Combat medic. She sipped her coffee, surprised by how icily the words came. 3 tours in Afghanistan before I came back to civilian nursing. Kareem nodded slowly. My family fled Lebanon when I was 15. Civil war was getting bad again. He gestured to the gas station. This job pays for engineering school. My dream is to design prosthetics for war refugees. Something in his tone made Zara look at him more carefully. Personal experience? My younger brother lost his leg to a landmine 2 years before we left. He's doing well now, but the prosthetic he has. Kareem shook his head. It's functional, but not much else. I want to build something better. Something that gives people their dignity back. Zara felt something shift in her chest, a recognition she hadn't expected. I've worked with a lot of amputees, combat veterans, civilian accident victims. You're right about the dignity thing. What made you become a medic? The question hung in the air. Zara rarely talked about her motivations, even with her therapist at the VA. But something about this quiet moment, after violence and before dawn, made honesty feel possible. Oh, my older brother was killed in Iraq. Aid explosion. I was 18, furious, wanted to enlist and fight. She paused, watching steam rise from her cup. My mom convinced me to think about what would honor his memory. Jacob always said he joined to protect people, so I became a medic instead of infantry. Sounds like a wise woman, your mother. She was? Zara's voice caught slightly. Cancer took her while I was overseas. Third tour. They sat in comfortable silence for several minutes. The gas station's neon signs hummed overhead, casting rainbow colors across the empty parking lot. In the distance, the city was beginning to stir. Delivery trucks rumbling past, early commuters starting their day. Can I ask you something? Kareem said finally. Sure, like there. When those men came in. You weren't scared at all, were you? Zara considered the question. Scared? No. Trained? Yes. It becomes instinct after a while. See threat, neutralize threat, assess casualties. She looked at him. But you were scared, and you still stood ready to help. That takes more courage than what I did. I don't feel very courageous. Courage isn't the absence of fear, Zara said, echoing words her drill sergeant had hammered into her years ago. It's doing what's right despite being afraid. Kareem smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. My grandmother used to say something similar. Bravery is not the lack of fear, but the mastery of it. As the first hints of sunrise painted the eastern sky, pink and gold. Zara realized she didn't want this conversation to end. For the first time in months, she felt truly awake. 3 weeks later, Zara found herself making an unnecessary detour past the Quick Mart on her way home from work. It had become a ritual, stopping for coffee, chatting with Kareem during the quiet hours between shifts. She told herself it was just convenience, but her heart knew better. The usual? Kareem asked as she approached the counter, his textbook already set aside. Actually, make it a small tonight. I'm trying to cut back on caffeine. She wasn't, but the smaller cup meant longer conversation before she had to leave. It's smart thinking. Finals are next week, and I've been living on nothing but coffee and determination. He handed her the cup with a slight smile. How was work? Rough day. Lost a patient? The words came out heavier than she intended. Elderly man came in with chest pains. We did everything right, but sometimes the world takes people before we're ready to let them go, Kareem finished gently. Zara looked up, surprised by his understanding. Exactly. My grandfather passed while we were waiting for refugee status to process. Heart attack. We couldn't get him to a proper hospital in time. Kareem's hand stilled on the counter. I was angry for months. Angry at the war, at the bureaucracy, at God. What changed? My little sister, Layla. She was only 12 then, but she told me that grandfather wouldn't want his death to make us bitter. She said we should honor him by helping others the way he always helped us. Kareem's smile was sad but genuine. Wise beyond her years? She sounds special. Does she live here now too? Yes, she's 17 now. Brilliant mind for mathematics. Wants to be an engineer like her big brother. Pride filled his voice. She works part-time at a tutoring center while finishing high school. Zara sipped her coffee, noting how Kareem's whole demeanor changed when he talked about his sister. Family is everything to you. Family is all we brought with us when we left everything else behind. He paused, studying her face. What about you? Any siblings besides Jacob? No, just me now. Parents gone, brother gone, as the familiar ache settled in her chest. Sometimes I think about what Jacob would be doing now if he'd lived. He wanted to be a teacher. Maybe he is teaching in a way. Through you. The observation caught Zara off guard. What do you mean? Every person you save, every life you touch as a medic and now as a nurse, that's Jacob's legacy continuing. You carry his spirit of protection forward. Zara felt tears threaten, something that rarely happened anymore. I never thought about it like that. My father used to say that the dead live on through our actions. When we act with love and purpose, we honor all those who came before us. A comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the hum of refrigeration units and distant traffic. Zara found herself studying Kareem's face, the concentration lines around his eyes, the careful way he chose his words, the genuine warmth in his expression. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. "Of course. Why engineering? Beyond helping your brother, I mean?" Kareem's eyes lit up. "Because engineering is about solving problems that matter, building bridges where there are divides, creating tools that make life better." He gestured to his textbook. "Right now I'm studying biomechanics. Did you know that the human hand has 27 bones and over 30 muscles? Creating a prosthetic that can replicate even half that complexity." His passion was infectious. Zara found herself leaning forward, genuinely interested. "That sounds incredibly challenging. The best problems usually are." Kareem grinned. "But when you solve them, you change someone's world completely." As he spoke about hydraulics and neural interfaces, Zara realized she was seeing a different side of him. Not just the gentleman who worked nights to support his family, but a brilliant innovator with dreams that could transform lives. "You're going to change the world." "Kareem," she said softly. "We all change the world," he replied. "The question is whether we change it for the better." The emergency call came at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday. Zara was just finishing her dinner break when her phone buzzed with Kareem's number. She'd given him her contact information the previous week, but he'd never called before. "Zara, I need help." His voice was tight with fear. "They have Layla." "Who has Layla?" "Where are you?" "The apartment." "These men came, said we owe protection money. When I told them we don't have it, they grabbed her. Said they'd be back tomorrow night with their answer, or..." His voice broke. "I'm on my way. Stay calm, don't do anything until I get there." Zara grabbed her jacket and keys, her mind already shifting into tactical mode. She'd encountered protection rackets overseas, gangs that preyed on the vulnerable, especially refugees who were afraid to contact authorities. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tighter as she drove through the city streets. Kareem lived in a modest apartment building in the University District. She found him pacing outside, his usually neat appearance disheveled, worry etched deep in his features. "Tell me exactly what happened," she said, taking his hands to still their trembling. 3 men. The leader had a scar across his left cheek. Said our neighbors had been paying for protection, and it was time we contributed too. $500 a month? Kareem's voice shook with rage and fear. When I said we couldn't afford that, they grabbed Layla. Told me I had 24 hours to find the money, or they'd sell her. Zara's blood ran cold. Human trafficking was a reality she'd encountered in war zones. But seeing it threaten someone she cared about triggered every protective instinct she possessed. Did they say where they were taking her? Warehouse District. Old textile building on 5th Street? Kareem grabbed her arm. "Zara, I don't know what to do. The police. Refugees sometimes don't get the same attention, you know? And these men, they have connections. We're not calling the police. Not yet." Zara's voice carried a hardness Kareem hadn't heard before. "But we are getting Layla back. Tonight." "What do you mean?" For the first time since they'd met, Zara allowed her military training to show completely. "I mean exactly what I said. These men made a mistake when they threatened your family." She pulled out her phone and made 2 calls, first to her former teammate Rodriguez, who worked private security downtown, then to Jackson, who owned a gun shop and owed her a favor from their army days. "Here's what's going to happen," she told Kareem as they waited. "My friends are bringing equipment. We're going to that warehouse and we're bringing your sister home. Zara, this is too dangerous. These aren't muggers at a gas station. No, they're worse. They're predators who prey on families like yours because they think nobody will fight back. Her eyes met his, and he saw something fierce and uncompromising there. They're about to learn how wrong they are. When Rodriguez and Jackson arrived 30 minutes later, they brought tactical gear and a plan. Zara transformed before Karim's eyes. The gentlewoman who brought him coffee became a focused operator. Discussing entry points and extraction routes with professional efficiency. "Stay in the car," she told Karim as they approached the warehouse. "If we're not back in 40 minutes, call this number." "Do you?" She handed him a card. "Tell them Nightingale needs cleanup. I can't just sit here while you risk your life for my sister." "Yes, you can. Because Layla needs her brother alive and whole." Zara's voice softened for a moment. "Trust me, Karim. This is what I do." The warehouse operation took 27 minutes. Zara and her team moved like ghosts, using darkness and precision to neutralize guards and locate Layla. The girl was frightened but unharmed, tied up in a back office while the gang leaders counted money from their other victims. When the police finally arrived, called by anonymous tip with exact locations of evidence and suspects, they found 3 gang members: Z, iPod, and unconscious, along with detailed documentation of their protection. Racket Operation Karim held his sister as they watched the arrests from across the street. Who are you really? Zara stripped off her tactical vest, her hands steady despite what they'd just accomplished. "I'm exactly who you think I am. I'm also someone who learned that sometimes the only way to protect innocence is to be willing to fight for it." As dawn broke over the city, Layla safe and the immediate threat eliminated, Karim looked at Zara with new understanding. "You saved my family." "We saved each other," Zara replied, and meant it. 6 months after the warehouse incident, Zara stood in the community center's main hall, watching Karim adjust the settings on a prototype prosthetic arm. The recipient, a young Afghan veteran named Hassan, flexed the mechanical fingers with wonder and growing excitement. "I can actually feel the pressure," Hassan said, his voice thick with emotion. "How is that possible?" "Neural feedback sensors," Karim explained, beaming with pride. "They translate pressure and temperature into electrical signals the brain can interpret. It's not perfect, but..." "It's a miracle," Hassan interrupted, carefully picking up a coffee cup and taking a sip. "I haven't been able to do this without dropping something in 2 years." Zara felt her heart swell as she watched Karim work. His prosthetics program had launched 3 months ago, funded partially by grants, but mostly by the Veterans Rehabilitation Center she'd opened in partnership with Mercy General. What had started as late-night conversations over gas station coffee had become a shared mission. "How's our patient looking?" she asked, approaching with Hassan's chart. "Better than expected," Karim replied, making notes on his tablet. "The integration is proceeding ahead of schedule. I think we can start him on the advanced dexterity training next week." After Hassan left, walking taller than when he'd arrived, Zara and Karim found themselves alone in the workshop. Blueprints covered every available surface. Prototypes in various stages of completion lined the shelves, and the air hummed with the quiet satisfaction of meaningful work. "Remember when you said you wanted to give people their dignity back?" Zara asked, organizing files on her desk. "I remember everything about that night," Karim said softly. "Changed my life completely." "Mine too." She looked up to find him watching her with that same warm expression that had drawn her in months ago. "Though I have to admit, when I first saw you handling those muggers, I thought you might be some kind of superhero," Zara laughed. "Just someone who learned to fight for what matters." She moved closer, drawn by the familiar comfort of his presence. "Speaking of which, how's Layla adjusting to MIT? Still can't believe she got early admission. Calls every other day to thank us for helping her with the application essays." Karim's pride in his sister never dimmed. "She says when she graduates, she wants to join our team. Engineering meets medicine, she calls it. She's brilliant enough. Takes after her brother." They'd grown comfortable with casual touches over the past months, hands brushing while passing tools, shoulders bumping while working side by side. But tonight felt different. The workshop was quiet, their work complete, and the space between them seemed to thrum with unspoken possibility. Zara, Kareem said, setting down his tablet and turning to face her fully. There's something I've been wanting to tell you. What's that? That night at the gas station, when I watched you fight, I wasn't just impressed by your skills. I was impressed by your heart. You could have just defended yourself and left, but you stayed. You made sure everyone was okay? He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne mixed with the metallic scent of his work. You've been doing that ever since. Staying, making sure people are okay. So have you, she whispered. Taking care of your family, building hope for strangers, teaching me that healing can be just as powerful as fighting. When he kissed her, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Months of friendship, respect, and growing affection culminated in a moment of perfect understanding. They broke apart smiling, foreheads resting together. So what happens now? Zara asked. We keep building, Kareem said simply. Better prosthetics, better treatments, better lives for people who need hope. He cupped her face gently. And we build something for ourselves, too. 1 year later, their wedding was a celebration of two cultures and countless lives touched by their work. Hassan gave a toast about second chances. Layla served as maid of honor while finishing her engineering degree, and Rodriguez caught the bouquet, much to everyone's amusement. But the moment Zara treasured most was the quiet exchange of vows they'd written themselves. Promises not just to love each other, but to continue their shared mission of healing and hope. As Kareem slipped the ring onto her finger, she realized that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with learning to fight for something worth protecting. In the end, the warrior had found her peace, and the healer had found his strength. Together, they built tomorrow, one life at a time.